Hello, everybody, and welcome to Libromancy, a podcast about the magic of books. I'm your host, Josh, and today I'm going to be talking about the second book in the Hidden Legacy series by Alona Andrews, White Hot. So let's inquire about the magic of books. All right, everybody, this is another fun book. It really just goes fast, goes hard. This one, I feel like these books are not, and this is in no way a criticism, right? These books are very similar to popcorn reading, but I feel like they're a little bit more than just like a popcorn book that you can read and just forget about. Like, yes, they might not have, these books probably don't have any big lessons that you're needed to be learning from them, but they're pretty fun. They got good powers and magic systems, which is stuff I love. And so just seeing that makes it enough for me. Now, again, this one, just please ignore the cover. That's only part of it. Now, in this book, it's a little bit more than just a part of it. And, there's only really one scene that I would say is explicit. So if you just want to skip that scene when you're reading it, then just skip it. And if you don't want to skip it, then enjoy it, right? That's what it's there for. I'm not going to say it's wrong to have it because it's part of the book and that's what they wanted. But they're not my favorite. I prefer a more subtle fade to black for the most part. So it is what it is. Let's see. This one has a little bit more, not a little bit, it has a lot more character work for Rogan in it. So I was really glad that we get to see a lot more from Rogan's. We get to learn a lot more about his backstory. If you think about it, kind of the first one is a little bit more about Nevada's backstory. This one's about Rogan's backstory. And I hope to see what the third one brings, whether it's just them doing more stuff together, doing it separate, who knows. We'll see when we get there, right? So I think that's pretty much going to be it, though. Let's talk about the plot and we'll get into the spoilers. So if you haven't listened yet, I would stop and go listen to something else or go read it and then come back. You don't have to listen to something else. Just stay here. Listen to this. Now, the Shadow Cabal that we learned about in the last one that tried to get Rogan to destroy the city is once again trying to destabilize Houston. But this time they've killed Cornelius's wife and he worked with Augustine to get to Nevada to investigate who killed his wife and why. And, he wants to be able to kill them back. So they investigate, they team up with Rogan. There's a lot more investigating. There's a lot more running around and trying to figure out stuff. Then they are able to stop the bad guys and they run and save the day. Now, I'm glossing over quite a lot of it, but don't worry, we're going to get there. So let's just first talk about the characters, of course, because we always like to start with our characters here. I loved Nevada again, that she doing all the right things, trying to live out for herself. But I love that she stays true to what she wants and the things that she stands for. And she doesn't just change just because she's kind of about to get into a relationship in this book. Because that's kind of the storyline of the book, right? They don't like each other, then they start liking each other, then they really like each other, then they get together, right? Now, granted, we're doing it too because they do get together at this one. But I like that she doesn't compromise a lot of her values or her beliefs just to be with Rogan, because that would be crazy because she's a real person and she deserves this, the way she wants to be treated in her own way. And it's nice to see that it's just like, no, it's normal to like not just give up everything in a relationship, right? Or to like completely change yourself and like give up what you want to do, because she's not going to give up her business. That's not what she wants. So I love this time, we're seeing stuff from the opposite side. Now it's the past from her father's side that's coming to get her, where I just love the beginning that she went and did the right thing. Like, it starts off with Nevada going in costume to a almost convicted child murderer who's hidden a kid and they'll die without help. And she compels him to tell the truth and to go where he is. And that's such a nice thing because it's like all the other primes won't do that because they know the cost ahead of time, that if I do it this once, then they'll want more and they'll want more and they'll want more, and I can't handle that because I've already got my whole life planned out and I've got these other things I have to be working on, which is not to say that they are like horrible people for not doing these kind of things, because I totally get that. You have people, you do one thing once for somebody and then you have to do it every time for people. That is just a fact of life. People get used to you doing stuff for them, and then when you're like, okay, like I'm done doing this, they're like, whoa, you were doing it, you have to keep doing it or we'll turn on you. Like, yeah, if you think about it, you can find instances in your life of this all over the place. It's just a very human thing to do. So I love Nevada. I love that she does end up choosing to get with Rogan, but she doesn't compromise. And I love that she is not a weakling. Like, I know she has kind of a weak power, like the power to compel people to tell the truth. And hello, she is a prime, and I knew it, and I called it, and I just wanted to say I did because I was right, and I loved seeing that. Like, but seeing her work her power on Augustine, where she's like, hey, just like tell me a little bit, like, hey, you know, just like I'm influencing you to tell the truth a little bit, but I'm not like clamping down on you and forcing it out of you. I'm just talking, and we're having a good time. And oh, that's right. What was the password to your bank account? And what's your middle name? And what's the account number? And can you do this for me real quick? Ah, perfect. And then no memory of it. Like, that's a super power level. But no, so I'm not saying she's weak, but like in a combat fight, she is not the strongest. She's great with a gun, but against magic, she's not quite there. But I love that she still has those shockers. And she is willing to use them, and she could take care of her own when David Howling comes against her and he's like, I'm going to kill you, like, I'm going to kill your girl right in front of you. And she's like, I don't need Rogan to protect me. I could protect myself. Like, I got family in the military on both sides. Like, you can't stop this. And then she, you know, kills him. And it was brutal, and it was like tough, because then you're like, oh, freak, she just like killed him. But like, it was so good, right? Let's talk about Rogan. Rogan, the sufferer of heavy, heavy PTSD. Like, and you have to imagine, of course he did. When you learn his story, like, there's no way he got out of being in the military the way he was, completely unscathed, where he was so powerful in the military, not like in the military, but to the military, that they would bring him in, and it would change the whole equation of the battle. People would leave, enemies would flee, you know, it would be a build-up thing, and then they were tricked, but he was heavily, heavily insulated, so he never saw anybody, you know, any losing. He didn't see the cost of war. He just came in and destroyed buildings, and it's like, wow, that is, you know, and then he gets stuck on the ground, and if he uses his power, he's out. You know, they're caught. He could survive, but nobody else in his team would, which the only thing I didn't really get about that is like, I know that supposedly nobody else in your team would survive, but like, you've built circles before where like Nevada was in the circle with you. Couldn't you just build one of those amplification circles and just like create the null zone, and then you'd be fine inside that? Everybody would be. I don't question it too much, because it's, you know, it's a little softer magic, and for the story it's better that he has PTSD and he wasn't able to just super magic his way out of it. So, but I love that it's like, it talks realistically about like, you send people off to war, and you expect them to just ignore the rules that they've learned of society growing up and change, and then when they get adjusted to that, you send them home, and you expect them to just put it back on, be normal again immediately. And that's not how it happens. So we see, you know, Rogan's like, he's like, you're an enemy, or you're an ally, or you're a civilian. Unless you know, choose to side with an enemy, and then you're an enemy. And it's crazy. You know, it's just, that is what it is. He's not crazy, but he's a little bit crazy with his PTSD. So I loved seeing that side of him. I loved them working on their relationship together, because he does compromise quite a lot, where at the end of the book, last book, it was kind of like, well, you know, maybe Rogan is not the right person for this relationship to be with, because he's a little intense about it, and he's a little bit angry, and it seems like he might be doing it for the wrong reasons. And now we have confirmation he is pretty much a good person, and he is trying to do the right thing, and he's fine. You know, he's not fine, but he's getting better. And I love that when they got together, it was not like, okay, here's the perfect solution to all of our problems, and that the things that they fought about are realistic things and very few miscommunication type things. Like, every book with a little bit of a romance that's trying to create drama is going to use a little bit of miscommunication. Oh, I heard him do this, I didn't see this. But I love that Ilona Andrews, you know, they don't do that very often, if ever, in their books. They give the couples real reasons to be arguing and to be fighting, you know, and to be angry with each other to create that drama, right? Rogan goes and buys all of her debt. And he's like, look, I bought your debt to protect you, because I don't want people to then go buy your debt and then be like, hey, now you have to do this for me or else. And Nevada's like, but you just bought all my debt. Now I have to do what you want or you'll cripple me. And he's like, why would I do that? I just bought it so nobody else could do it against you. I'm not going to do it against you. But it's the implied threat, you know, to Nevada. Like, well, now I have to do it because you're implying that I have this power, even if he's not implying it. So I love the way that their relationships work, that the drama is brought in and it's still there and it's not, you know, too bad. By the way, Catalina, she has a crazy, crazy power, the power of love. She talks and people listen and love her. And it was scary to see in action, which makes me kind of excited for books 4, 5, and and 6 of the Hidden Legacy, because that's what they're about. Because the first 3 are Nevada, and the second 3, 4, 5, and 6 are about Catalina. So I'm pretty excited for this. And I liked in this one, there was some really good foreshadowing of certain things that was going to happen. We see things in the beginning, they're kind of forgotten or laid down, and then they're brought back. Especially Cornelius. He is powerful and scary because he finds out who killed his wife, and he summons his rats like the Pied Piper, and that's like a literal line there, and it was like, oh, that's intense and scary. Like, he was super powerful. We learned his family had powers before the serum came out, and so it's like, oh boy, don't mess with Cornelius. But then he's like, oh, can I come work with you guys? And they're like, let me think about this. Yes, you're a prime. That's a bonus right there. You don't ask for a ton of money. That's another bonus right there. And you can talk to animals and they do things for you, and they can spy on people for us. Like, this will cut down on our man hours significantly. And, I love that scene, the whole scene where he's like, can I come work for you guys? And he's like, yeah, of course. They hush it out. And then he's like, well, I was expecting to need a lot more money soon. I was prepared to pay $500,000 or more. And Nevada's like, well, that's not what I quoted you. And he's like, yeah, but I didn't really expect you to stick to that. And she's like, well, that's what we do. We stick to the price. So I love that scene, just the way that worked. Now, there were a lot of summoned creatures in this book, which was kind of interesting because there was not a whole lot of summoning creatures in the last book, but there were in this one. And so I liked that. Kind of just expanding the world, expanding things. I liked who are they again? Augustine and David. Not David. Augustine and Connor Rogan, again, fighting over Nevada because she's the prime truth seeker. And they're like, no, here's a good deal. Take this deal. And he's like, no, take my deal. Just come work with me. And, Rogan's like, set up your own prime house. Set up your own house. Become a prime with your sisters. And then you guys will be free from interference for 3 years. But he's like, but you have to lose out on me because I can't be with you because you'll be another house. You won't be with me. So I'm excited to see what they kind of do with that, because obviously I still want Nevada and Rogan to get together, but forming their own house would give them a lot of power and influence and stability that they kind of need. So I'm really looking forward to see that. I really kind of wish we had gotten a little bit more about the Cabal again, because we still don't know what their goal is. We still don't know why they're doing what they're doing, aside from the fact that, the lady, his sister, I don't remember if it's a sister or not, but his sister/cousin just hates him and wants him to suffer and die. And it's like, I got it. You want to destabilize. Okay, we did get some. They want to destabilize the houses and change the power system somehow, or make the power system more in line with if the houses say that's what goes for everywhere else. But I want to see more about who these people are. We don't see very many of them. So I want to see more of that. But on the whole, just love this book. I think it's a great one. And that's going to wrap up my discussion of White Hot by Ilona Andrews. Thanks for listening, everybody. And thanks to David Hilowitz for the intro and outro music. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. And remember to inquire with the magic of books.